What's going on, gamers? Suro here. Welcome back to the channel. Now today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the patch, the update that's actually going live tomorrow around 2 p.m. BST. Now this will be an experimental branch that you'll be able to go into your settings on Steam and switch over to. Don't worry, you're not going to lose your save files or anything like that, but this is going to be an alternate branch that's going to have some new things to the game that they'll be testing out, and then everyone in the community can test these out at the same time as well. But there are a few things that are really interesting. We're going to go back to the old repair system. The dedicated servers will be available, so let's hope that those are really like polished and work out, because having a whole community be able to play on the same dedicated server would be really nice. So if you want to play with your friends or whatever and the host is offline, they will still be able to play. Now I'm going to quickly go over the patch notes, and then tomorrow when it releases on April 27th, we will dig into it a little bit deeper, and I'll show you how each and everything works. So going over the patch notes, we have dedicated servers are now available. The repair system has been reverted back to using scrap parts as a result of working together with and gathering feedback from our community. The cost of scrap parts have been rebalanced, so higher tier items cost more scrap parts. Scrap parts can be gained through salvaging again. The current materials gained from salvaging are still gained as well. The bearded merchant now also sells scrap parts instead of wood. So I know some of the people were upset about the when they adjusted the salvaging and like the scrap parts and stuff, but the scrap parts are back, so hopefully you still have a bunch of those because you'll be able to use them. Now this thing's really interesting. We have a reinforcement mechanic has been added that allows players to extend the durability of their items as well as give them a small stat boost. Reinforcing an item costs some of the item's crafting material, so that is really interesting that we can actually reinforce. I wasn't expecting such a pretty somewhat game-changing mechanic to be added in the game so soon with just a minor update, so that's really cool. We added scrap parts that can drop from destructibles and some enemies, so that's really nice. If you have a mob farm, you're going to be able to get some of these scrap parts, so that is really nice. Now, we get into some really interesting stuff here. The higher tier hoes now cover a larger area. This works for both tilling and gathering plants in larger areas. So it's kind of like Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon, stuff like that. You'll actually be able to cover a larger area now whenever you're digging up the ground, if you would like, depending on the tier that you have. They've also added a digging damage stat to shovels that impact how many uses it takes to dig up a ground. Health of ground has been rebalanced around the digging damage of shovels so that higher tier shovels are more effective against lower tier ground. So for example, if you're using a Scarlett shovel, it's probably going to be able to just one hit the dirt biome. So that's really nice that we actually have a difference there depending on crafting them, because before it was just all about durability. You want to get the higher tier of the Scarlett just so it has more durability. Other than that, it didn't really change the damage. Now they also are going to add a Scarlet hoe that can be crafted at the Scarlet workbench and a Scarlet shovel that can be crafted in the Scarlet workbench. So we got a couple new items there. They moved the Scarlet sword to be crafted in the Scarlet anvil instead of the Scarlet workbench. A large watering can now covers 2x2 tiles. So that'll be 4 tiles at once again, like Harvest Moon. Stardew Valley, that's really cool. More watering options coming later, so they are going to touch on this a little more. Fishing rods no longer have durability, and the chance to gain kelp from fishing has been reduced, and we've added resources such as ores, woods, fiber, and scrap parts that can be gained from fishing. Now, I'm really glad that they reduced the amount of kelp you get, but if you're over there trying to get a certain valuable or a certain fish, now there's a chance for you to get ores, woods, fiber, and scraps. I don't really care for that change too much. Just because, if you're hunting a certain item or a ring or something, you want to be able to get the highest chance of getting one of those as possible. Now, they did some balancing and improvements. They slightly increased the damage of the rune song, increased the max health of bosses, which this is going to be super fun. I'm going to test out how much more health they actually have, because currently the game is pretty easy once you hit the late game stages. Azios, the bird boss, and rages at a bit higher health percentage. And then we have the quality of life. Other players can be made server admins from the pause menu. Players can be banned by admins, and added a button beside the game ID and for admins to regenerate the game ID. So then we have a bunch of bug fixes, but I'm not going to go over those right now. But the main things is we have dedicated servers, The repair system is reverting back. We have our reinforcement mechanic, and shovels got a massive buff. But yeah, I'm going to deep dive into this a lot more tomorrow whenever the patch actually goes live, and we'll check it out together. But for now, that is the patch notes. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, I will see you in the next Core Keeper video.